After defeating the Demon King, Lucas never imagined that the very people he spent his life protecting would brutally kill him. But after the hero died tragically, his body was exposed in the wilderness. So even the goddess in the sky could not bear to watch, for she had long been unable to tolerate this ugly world, knowing that if nothing changed, countless more heartbreaking stories like the hero's would happen. So the goddess revived the hero, hoping he would join her in rebelling against this world. And 2 years later, the once hero had become the undying Demon King because the goddess wanted to resist the world and build a new order. And now Lucas fights for the goddess, facing a strong opponent, dying twice before turning the battle around, realizing he had become the undying Demon King after the goddess revived him. And although he now possessed supreme magic power, in reality, he was weaker than when he was a hero because after becoming the Demon King, his attributes changed, making him unable to wield the Holy Sword. So to help Lucas regain his former strength, the goddess turned the Holy Sword into a demon sword, allowing him to wield it again, making Lucas now both a mage and a swordsman, appearing to be a mage on the surface, but once the demon sword was drawn, he would become the strongest swordsman. And a few more years passed. Lucas's appearance completely changed as he conquered vast lands and established a powerful demon kingdom. But then the goddess had to leave, saying her body would dissipate and she would reincarnate 1,000 years into the future, hoping that by then Lucas would find her. Though after reincarnation, she might lose her freedom. So the goddess asked Lucas that if in the future she became a monster, he should kill her with a demon sword. But when Lucas refused to agree, the goddess could only change her request, saying that if she truly became a monster, Lucas could use the demon sword's guidance to find her true self. And after the goddess reincarnated, Lucas continued expanding his territory. And because of the immense pressure, the 6 human heroes abandoned their ordinary lives and became apostles of the gods. And after gaining great power, the 6 heroes led the human alliance to launch a counterattack, killing their way toward Lucas' demon race, with fortresses outside being taken one by one. Many of Lucas's old comrades dying. And though Lucas wanted to go out and fight them in a final battle, his subordinates stopped him, reminding him that he still had the 1,000-year promise with the goddess. And if he died now, the promise could not be fulfilled. So, in the end, the Demon King could only seal himself away, waiting to awaken 1,000 years later to search for the reincarnated goddess. And as the human alliance conquered his demon capital, Lucas did not resist, but instead sealed himself and began to sleep because of the promise with the goddess, needing to go to the world 1,000 years later to find her. And after Lucas fell asleep, who knows how long passed before he was suddenly awakened by girl's noise, thinking she was a grave robber and preparing to punish her. But then he found himself back in a human body, exactly as he looked when he was a hero. And before Lucas could recover from his shock, the girl hugged him tightly, making him faint. And of course, Lucas could not admit that he, the mighty undying Demon King, was fainted by a girl. So he excused it as being too hungry from not eating for a long time, meaning this girl actually saved his life. And if she had not come to wake him, he might have starved to death eventually. And the girl named Leah, a student of the Holy Sword Academy, came to this ruin on a mission and accidentally saved Lucas. And during their conversation, Lucas learned that the current world no longer had magic or battle aura, and people could only use the power of the Holy Sword. But very few could awaken the Holy Sword. While the power system of humans weakened, their technology rapidly advanced, allowing even those who could not awaken the Holy Sword to fight using high-tech weapons. And as they spoke, a phantom beast appeared, its level beyond what Leah could handle. And though it was the first time Lucas saw such a monster, this was his slumbering shrine. So he could not tolerate its intrusion and was about to kill it with one strike. But his oversized clothes caused him to trip. And at that moment, reinforcements arrived, saving them both. And it was Gina, Leah's maid, who had awakened the power of the Holy Sword. And it was also the first time Lucas saw the Holy Sword looking like an ancient magic device with power equivalent to level 4 explosive magic. And Gina told Leah to take Lucas and leave first while she stayed to fight. And Lucas felt that the whole world had changed, never having seen the Holy Sword, never having seen Phantom Beasts. And now he had turned from a Demon King into a child. And just then, another Phantom Beast appeared, blocking their way, looking even stronger than the one inside. But in front of Lucas, they were just pests. And he was about to kill it with one blow when Leah interrupted his magic to save him, getting herself killed by the Phantom Beast instead. And even in her dying moments, the girl thought of Lucas, telling him to meet up with Gina for survival, leaving Lucas speechless because he could have killed the Phantom Beast instantly. Yet now they lost a teammate. And after killing the Phantom Beast instantly, Lucas realized his magic was much weaker than before, only 1/3 of what it was when he was the Demon King due to his current body's limitations. And after dealing with the Phantom Beast, Lucas began reviving Leah. Though it was said to be revival magic, it was actually turning Leah into an undead vampire queen. But he did not dare tell her the truth, only saying her injuries were not severe, and he could easily heal her with a bit of healing magic. And Leah even thought it was his holy sword power. Surprised that Lucas at such a young age had already awakened the holy sword. And after Gina finished dealing with the Phantom Beast, the two planned to return with Lucas pretending to have no home and amnesia naturally being brought along. But on the way, Gina let Lucas experience how open modern girls were, leaving the undying Demon King speechless at being teased by a little girl. But the next scene shocked Lucas even more, as he, Lucas, the once holy sword hero turned undying Demon King, now in the body of a young boy, found himself in a world with advanced technology, phantom beasts, the power of holy swords, and the memory of the 1,000-year promise to find the reincarnated goddess, all while having to hide his true identity as he followed Leah and Gina back into a world that had forgotten him. Yet, he could not forget the promise that bound him to the goddess, determined to find her, no matter how much the world had changed. Lucas never expected that humans could build such magnificent fortresses, and there were at least 7 of them of this scale. And since it was his first time entering the fortress, he had to cooperate with the inspection to create an identity card. The next procedures had to be done alone, finally giving him a chance to be by himself. And while no one was around, Lucas summoned his loyal subordinates from his Demon King days, the Shadow Prince Brack and the Shadow Assassin Sherry. And just as he was about to assign them a mission, he noticed something was off with Sherry, realizing that when they met, he was the Demon King. So Sherry had never seen him in his human form before, and seeing him now, she exclaimed that she loved him at first sight. But when she learned that Lucas planned to live in the Holy Sword Academy and wouldn't be acting with him, she couldn't help but complain. And after they left, Lucas entered the testing machine. But when he reached the last checkpoint, the machine issued a warning. And Lucas seemed to realize something, quickly hiding his magic power, luckily noticing in time, or else he might have become humanity's public enemy. And after getting his temporary ID, the girl helped him apply for the Holy Sword test and kept his card safe. And after showing him around the city, Lucas was amazed by the vastness and grandeur of the buildings, even larger and more majestic than his former demon capital. But while introducing the training grounds where Lucas would take his test the next day, the girl suddenly felt dizzy, and Lucas knew this was a normal reaction for someone turning into a vampire. But he didn't understand why the girl who didn't have holy sword power would choose to fight phantom beasts. And as they brushed past 2 beautiful girls who complimented Lucas's handsome looks, saying this child would definitely become the Night Demon King in the future, Lucas thought his identity had been discovered, but then realized how could they possibly know who he was, and the reason there were so many girls around was that they were in the girls' dormitory. And at that moment, a man approached them, followed by 4 beautiful girls. And though the girl didn't want to pay attention, they blocked her path, mocking them as bottom rankers and suggesting they join his team so they wouldn't have to worry about being kicked out of the academy, saying that if they became his toys and part of his collection, they wouldn't have to participate in dangerous missions. And it was clear the girls with him were being controlled mentally. And when the girl tried to leave, the perverted man actually pulled her hair, and Lucas finally couldn't stand it. But the man, not knowing his place, even tried to use a weapon on Lucas, and Lucas was about to destroy him on the spot. But his senior sister intervened to stop the man, not knowing that if he had attacked Lucas, he would have been turned to ashes instantly. And seeing the prison-like holy sword of the senior sister made Lucas very curious. But the girl's body seemed to be struggling, so they quickly returned to their residence. And since it was the girls' dormitory, having a boy live there seemed questionable. But the girl said it was fine since Lucas was just a child. Though the scene felt oddly like checking into a hotel together, and Lucas, not overthinking, went straight to take a bath. While outside, the girl kept asking if Lucas could join their team after the Holy Sword test because healing magic was a rare attribute usually fought over by top-ranking teams. Even though she had no strength, she still hoped Lucas would join. And seeing her so unusually anxious, Lucas decided to join her team. And just then, the girl entered the bathroom, worried that a child like Lucas wouldn't know how to bathe. And during the test, Lucas controlled his power to the minimum and told the test instructor that he was just a support-type helper. But during the strength test, in just 2.5 seconds, he smashed 3 warrior-level robots into scrap metal, something no support should be able to do, making the instructor suspicious of Lucas's identity. And just as Lucas's identity was about to be exposed, the man who had harassed his subordinate appeared, claiming to be a first-level Holy Sword wielder and capable of being Lucas's test examiner. But during the test, he actually controlled 4 girls to fight for him. And the subordinate girl called him shameless and despicable. But the man said this was the power of his holy sword, granting him absolute control, making it unimaginable what kind of torment the controlled girls had suffered. And to protect Lucas, Leo, the girl who was his guardian, joined the fight, but with the condition that if she lost, she would have to join his team and be abused by him. And since the girl had not awakened the holy sword, she could only pick up a regular weapon to fight. But now that she was a vampire, she finally had enough power for a fight. And Lucas, to avoid exposing his identity, only restrained one of the enemies while the girl defeated 3. But as she approached the man, she was caught by his absolute control. And then the 4 girls under control attacked Lucas. And seeing that Leo was about to be harmed, the girl driven by her will to protect Lucas finally summoned the holy sword. And after cutting through the man's holy sword of absolute control, the girls regained their senses. And after returning to the dorm, the girl thanked Lucas deeply for giving her a second chance at life, expressing her desire to become stronger, hoping Lucas would provide her with nourishment every day. And as Lucas's subordinate, this was no problem, as he also wished for his subordinates to grow stronger. And the girls specially celebrated Lucas's successful test completion with a lavish dinner. And as all new students who passed had to register their data into the school network, the senior sister invited Lucas to her room. And upon mentioning her room, they remembered that the only place left in their dorm was the storage room used for junk. And the girl, using the reason that she found Lucas first, successfully claimed ownership of him. And later, she went to the senior sister's room. And while entering Lucas's data, she became interested in the senior sister's holy sword. And the senior sister shared her story, explaining that her holy sword was originally offensive. But during a battle with a phantom beast, all her teammates died on the battlefield. And since then, she could no longer unleash her power, losing her usefulness, and no one was willing to team up with her until the girl took her in and added her to the team. And after the registration was completed, the senior sister even recorded Lucas's most unique interests. After the girl teased him, Lucas became interested in the map beside her. And upon returning to the room, while the girl was taking a bath, he studied the modern map and inquired with his subordinates about the current state of the world. Deep in the underground city, humans installed a massive magic crystal, calling it the magic furnace. They used this crystal to fuel the whole island, much like 1,000 years ago, but now with intricate circuits that distribute the magic power across the city. And if this force is claimed, the entire city itself would turn into a magic furnace, just like ages past, except now the circuits are even more complex. As Lucas summons his white-haired maid, she hands him a type of food, and Lucas finds it surprisingly tasty, but he wonders if the maid has any other news besides food. The maid replies that she did some investigating. Nowadays, nobody knows anything about the Demon King or the war from 1,000 years ago, which leaves Lucas feeling suspicious. The maid, sensing the scent of the girl in the bathroom, grows deeply jealous that Lucas has taken her in as his own. At that moment, the girl comes out of the bathroom. Since Lucas is now in a child's body, the girl doesn't see him as a threat. But this only makes the Demon King inside him struggle even more. Meanwhile, beneath the city, a hidden crisis is brewing, as the long-sealed Forest King from 1,000 years ago is about to awaken. Though you're living in the girl's dormitory and tempted by all sorts of distractions every day, you haven't forgotten about your plans for revenge. Waking from a dream, you realize someone bit you. So, you wake up your contracted servant, Shalia, who feels confused about why she suddenly woke up. It turns out this is the power of their contract, forcing her to obey Lucas's command. Lucas insists he's a gentleman who would never do anything improper and asks Shalia to be more ladylike. Next time, don't feed at night when someone is sleeping. Shalia admits she just couldn't help herself, but Lucas doesn't blame her. He knows how hard it is for vampires to resist feeding at night. So, he just asks her to tell him first before she does it again. Suddenly, his squad leader calls. She's the team captain and wants everyone to know she's been summoned for a strategic meeting, likely about the expedition team investigating the city's depths that was wiped out. Shalia promises to keep Lucas updated, so they stay in touch. But since it's a rare weekend, she suggests Lucas use the time to train. During practice, Shalia quickly defeats a robot with her impressive sword skills. To give her even more battle experience, Lucas summons her undead army, and Shalia meets every challenge head-on, defeating every opponent with dazzling moves. Lucas keeps summoning more soldiers for her fight, and after a long session, Shalia wipes them all out, exhausted and out of breath. Lucas asks if she needs to recharge her magic, and Shalia, blushing, hesitates to answer. Later, to thank Lucas, Shalia invites him to a restaurant near the academy. Meanwhile, Lucas's maid, Benny, is working at a shop, hoping to earn money to buy Lucas some snacks. The boss tells her to slice potatoes, but she thinks the knife isn't sharp enough. So, she pulls out her own knife and ends up cutting the potatoes and bowl into tiny pieces. The boss is so scared that he makes her clean up instead. Just then, Lucas and Shaylia stop at her workplace to shop, and after buying what they need, the maid grows jealous seeing Lucas teasing Shaylia. Soon after they reach the restaurant where a group of children rush to greet Shaylia. They're all orphans from the war whom Shaylia saved and who were taken in by the kind restaurant owner. The children help out, and as soon as they see Shaylia, they surround her with smiles and playful jokes. This is everything Shaylia wants to protect. Everything she once cherished vanished 1,000 years ago. Her only wish now is to fulfill her promise to the goddess and find her reincarnation in this age. At the same time, the expedition team below the city reports no signs of monsters, and they think the crisis is over. But in the city's underground world, monsters have already broken in, sending tremors that unsettle the team members. The squad leader uses her computer to trace the vibrations to the city's edge, and the security staff rush to the warehouse at the source, only to find it wrapped in thick branches. They push their way inside, not realizing danger is all around them, and their fate looks grim. Back in the restaurant, Lucas is eating with the kids, but he senses something is wrong. While he's eating with Shaylia, a young boy plays a prank on her, and Lucas wants to scold him, but Shaylia stops him. Afterward, they enjoy their meal. Lucas has never tasted food this good. A girl notices food crumbs on his face and kindly gives him her handkerchief. Meanwhile, the squad leader reports her findings to the city managers. Monsters have invaded the city's underground and are heading straight for the magic furnace. If they lose that, the city will be paralyzed. The managers declare a state of emergency, activating the defense system, but warn that if the monsters absorb the furnace's magic, the whole city will be lost. Everyone assumes the powerful barrier around the furnace will stop the monsters. But in the very next second, a monster breaks straight into the central zone. No amount of firepower can stop it as it drives its tentacles into the magic furnace and hungrily absorbs the magic. Lucas immediately senses danger as countless monsters swarm into the city through underground cracks. Even with all weapons blazing, they can't stop some of the monsters from pouring in. Lucas's companions do all they can to protect the citizens. As a group of monsters recklessly attacks, their numbers keep rising. Then a legendary flying dragon leads a horde of monsters right toward Lucas. With a wave of his hand, he casts a powerful time spell, but even that isn't enough to destroy them. Just then, Lucas's servant bites into the dragon's neck, giving Lucas the chance to unleash another spell. Just as they think the crisis is over, something stirs underground. The real mastermind behind the city's invasion is about to appear. Lucas's loyal servant is dragged into the palace, and this time, his purpose is to finally take revenge for the wrongs of the past. Lucas can hardly believe his luck. He finally gets to go on a date with a girl, and then suddenly he's captured by the Void Lord. As the Demon King, Lucas prepares to take on the Void Lord alone. But before the rescue, he makes sure to comfort his little sister and even takes a moment to share some grilled skewers with his mount. Suddenly, Shaylia's dropped earring begins to emit a sound. It turns out to be a communicator connected to the squad leader. Lucas immediately contacts her, asking the leader to use detection devices to locate Shaylia. And with this information, still munching on skewers, they set off, using magic to clear the way and eventually reaching the city's core. The Void Lord is shocked to see Lucas. Wasn't he supposed to have disappeared 1,000 years ago? Lucas coolly explains that he only hid his soul, fooling them all, and now it's time to settle old and new grudges together. Lucas first unleashes his Purgatory Flame magic, hoping to burn the Void Lord to ashes. But unexpectedly, the sage technique that turned into void instantly heals all wounds and even fuses together the entire Holy Order into one being. Meanwhile, through another earring, Shaylia hears that Lucas is coming to rescue her. She struggles desperately, but the vines just grow tighter. Outside, Lucas is locked in fierce battle with the Void, and soon they realize that all magic in the area is getting weaker, probably because the Void is draining the power from the city's magic crystal. The Void launches a barrage of multi-layered spells at Lucas using holy magic and the dazzling charm of Rex. This monster can keep casting spells without losing any energy, almost certainly thanks to absorbing the city's magic crystal. Trapped, Shaylia yearns to fight alongside Lucas and refuses to be a burden. Despite the pain, she struggles with all her might, even summoning a holy sword, but she's still powerless. Lucas can't pinpoint Shaylia's position and dares not use too strong a spell. Suddenly, Shaylia senses something. Her eyes turn blood red and countless curved blades appear behind her, slicing the binding vines apart. Lucas spots the awakened Shalia and smears his own blood onto an earring before driving it into Shalia's body so the vampire can unleash her full strength. They finally reunite. Shalia clings to the girl and lands safely. And now Lucas can cast magic freely without worry. At that moment, the Void decides to self-destruct, wanting to take the whole city and Lucas down together. But Shalia summons her curved blades to block the attack for Lucas. Lucas prepares to draw the magic sword the goddess once gave him. A sword said to reveal the truth within people's hearts, blessed by the gods themselves. A holy sword meant to save the world. As the Demon King to wield this blade, Lucas needs the heart to protect the world. In the moment he draws it from its sheath, he is no longer the cold-hearted Demon King. With the sword blessed by all the gods together, they destroy the fate falling from darkness. This is the magic sword. The monsters attacking the city gradually vanish, and they finally stop the crisis. Lucas, drained of magic, returns to the dormitory ahead of time, while Shalia takes the gift from the children with her and makes a small request. This Demon King really is something. He's lived 1,000 years, but still can't swim. So, the white cat has to teach him step by step, and even the little girl beside him looks at him with scorn, calling him hopeless. After the battle, even though Lucas defeated the monsters, the human city suffered severe damage and needs time to rebuild. To avoid hurting morale, the princess invites Lucas and his friends to a party on her luxury cruise ship. Lucas doesn't stand on ceremony. He lies back in a chair enjoying the sun and sipping iced coffee for the first time, finding the drink completely addictive. But just as he's relaxing, his personal maid suddenly appears, instantly ruining his mood. After all, today's supposed to be his day off. The maid urgently tells him that enemies have infiltrated the battleship, but their goals remain unclear. Even before Lucas boarded, a group of demi-humans were plotting to kidnap the princess, but they realized they were no match for humans armed with the holy sword. At that moment, a dark elf offered the demi-humans a magic sword, promising it would give them the power to take the princess. The Lion Man receives the sword, but the dark elf, who has powerful backing, only asks that the princess be kept alive as a sacrifice for his master after the kidnapping. The demi-humans agree to this minor condition and infiltrate the princess's cruise ship. They soon find the princess wandering the ship and fatally stab her bodyguard from behind. Realizing she can't escape, the princess quickly sends her pet to find help. Meanwhile, in the main hall, Lucas is held at gunpoint by the demi-humans. He originally wants to stay out of it, but then the demi-humans mention reviving the Dark Elf's goddess. Lucas suspects this may be the fallen goddess who saved him 1,000 years ago. So, he immediately escapes using a burrowing spell. Though, strangely, no one notices a hostage is missing. The princess is soon captured by the Dark Elf, forced to drive forward, but suddenly a swarm of monsters blocks the road. The demi-humans accuse the Dark Elf of being insane. They don't want to become monster sacrifices, but the Dark Elf never cared about them. She only wanted to offer enough sacrifices to her master. The Lion Man becomes furious and tries to kill her, but he didn't expect the Dark Elf could control his magic sword and burns him to death instead. Outside the cruise ship, a blonde guy finds the princess's pet, which uses telepathy to tell him everyone on the ship is being held hostage. The blonde and the pet soon find Lucas, who got lost. Turns out the princess is actually the blonde's sister. This Demon King is really amazing. After winning over the white-haired vampire, he's now flirting with the blonde girl, who turns out to be the older sister of the princess. And not just any girl, but the country's first princess. But why isn't she the princess anymore? And instead serves as the exclusive maid to the white-haired girl. It turns out the kingdom is quite superstitious, and when a red comet appeared in the sky, it was seen as a bad omen, and she happened to be born at that very time. To bring good luck, the king decided to have the blonde girl put to sleep, but the white-haired girl's father wouldn't allow it and quietly took the blonde home, raising her as his own daughter. To hide her true identity, the blonde girl became the white-haired girl's exclusive maid, though in truth, she was the real princess and the older sister of the current princess. In order to save her little sister, Lucas and the blonde girl quickly rushed to the control room. But the princess was no longer there, and the cruise ship's route had already been locked. To rescue everyone on board, the blonde used her royal power, channeling the spirit's energy to communicate with her captured sister across space, and soon managed to contact the princess, who told the blonde she was heading to the flight deck and that the ship was about to collide with a horde of monsters. The blonde and Lucas had to reach the control center at the bottom of the ship to take back control, otherwise everyone would die. Lucas told the blonde she could handle saving the princess alone, while the blonde should focus on regaining control of the ship. The blonde worried, but after seeing Lucas blow a huge hole through the bulletproof glass at the ship's front with just a little fireball, she realized Lucas was incredible and agreed to let him go alone. Meanwhile, the demi-humans had taken a group of hostages and forced the white-haired group to kneel. The purple-haired guy whispered to the white-haired girl that he couldn't take it anymore. They had to destroy these demi-humans. But he wasn't reckless. Before the party, he'd hidden a surveillance camera in the ceiling. If they could just destroy the bomb detonator in the old man's hand, their group could go all out. And the camera also had a signal jammer to delay the bomb by 2.5 seconds. Hearing this, the white-haired girl figured it was enough, then picked up a fork from the floor and stabbed her own finger, intending to use her blood to destroy the old man's remote. Luckily, the demi-humans didn't have great eyesight, or the audience would have been doomed. The blonde girl deliberately angered the demi-humans to draw attention, but the werewolf was easily pinned to the ground by the enemy's move. The old man, distracted by the camera interference, then had his remote shorted by the white-haired girl's blood. The blue-haired person joined in, launching a dragon tackle at the female demi-human. Working together, they quickly defeated the demi-humans and rescued the audience. But the crisis wasn't over yet, and soon monsters appeared near the cruise ship, climbing aboard. To protect the crowd, the white-haired group fought while falling back. But then, Lucas sent a telepathic message to the white-haired girl, telling her to support the blonde while others protected the passengers. After all, the purple-haired guy had an automatic rifle. Even the monsters couldn't withstand the hail of bullets. The white-haired girl dashed off, and before going far, she found the blonde surrounded by monsters. With the white-haired girl's help, the blonde pushed through to the ship's control center. Meanwhile, Lucas located the captured princess just as the enemy prepared to fly away. Lucas stopped the plane with his power, leaving the dark elf in utter disbelief. The dark elf hurled a fireball at Lucas, but Lucas deflected it with a wave of his hand, then grabbed the dark elf with his thumb, demanding to know her intentions. The dark elf replied she was only following the goddess's orders. Hearing goddess, Lucas assumed it was the fallen goddess and tried to ask her identity. But in the next instant, the dark elf was killed by an assassin's blade meant for demon kings. But it had no effect because the sword now had a phantom form with magic immunity. While Lucas wondered what to do, the blonde in the control room unleashed the Gatling gun on the deck, mowing down monsters, then fired a missile for good measure, stunning even the Demon King. Right after, the white-haired girl burst out riding a second missile, leaving Lucas totally speechless. He wondered if she'd be better off counting minions on the side instead. Lucas then drew his magic sword and struck down the monster in one blow. With the battle won, the princess thanked the white-haired girl's team, though the blonde and Lucas weren't there. They were at home resting together. The atmosphere is so cozy that if the white-haired girl didn't come back soon, the blonde might steal everything in the house. Life as a demon king wasn't easy. To restore the demon race's glory, Lucas had to recruit followers everywhere like a pyramid scheme boss. Worst of all, whenever there was a group battle, his own team didn't want to bring him, thinking he was a burden, leaving Lucas speechless. If he didn't join the fight, his harem would have been ashes by now. One day, after Lucas finished recruiting new members and returned to the dorm, he overheard his harem talking about a big black dog and a ghost that looked like a maid often appearing nearby. Lucas immediately realized they were his two subordinates. Since his powers had only recovered to a quarter of their former strength, it wasn't wise to reveal his Demon King identity just yet. So he decided to secretly recruit more minions and wait for the right moment to rebuild his kingdom. At that moment, the blonde said their squad was joining a competition designed to test the Holy Swordsman's strength, with the winning team getting even more awesome missions. Lucas didn't plan to fight. He wanted his harem to use the chance to sharpen their skills. And this time, the white-haired girl's opponent was her nemesis, Fenris, who could summon ice wolves and use them on his arms for close combat, fighting like a melee mage. After several combos, the white-haired girl was defeated and frozen by Fenris. But as Lucas prepared to step in, she summoned immense willpower, broke free of the ice, and launched a flying kick that knocked Fenris out cold. With the victory, their squad received a secret mission in the northwest of the human base. A huge city had appeared, a city that vanished into the void 6 years ago. Humanity's third tactical city, and also the hometown of the white-haired and blonde girls. At this point, the white-haired girl didn't want Lucas to go, thinking he was too small to help, which made Lucas laugh. Without the main character's halo, how would this group even survive? After confirming he could join the mission, Lucas specially left the big black dog to guard the city, while the maid went with him to the front lines. They quickly took a helicopter to their destination, deciding to split up. Lucas and the white-haired girl in one group, the other three in another. To protect those three, Lucas sent the maid to watch over them, with her real orders being to protect the Demon King. But just after Lucas and the white-haired girl had walked a short distance, they were attacked by enemies. Honestly, the white-haired girl was something else. After every battle, she would suck Lucas's blood to recharge, leaving even the Demon King speechless. Just 2.5 hours earlier, Lucas and the white-haired girl had been attacked by a massive monster. And when she couldn't dodge in time and got pinned under an electric pole, Lucas quickly used his power to move her into an underground tunnel while he faced a monster one-on-one. As they fought, Lucas realized the creature was a void beast from the Angel Clan's fallen city, and he couldn't help but laugh. He was the Demon King from 1,000 years ago. Surely he could handle a little angel's pet. Dodging its attacks with clever footwork, Lucas pinned the beast down with high-level magic, then summoned a huge fireball and roasted it mercilessly, making sure to finish with a jolt of lightning so it wouldn't come back to life. Once it was done, Lucas rushed to check the white-haired girl's injuries. But as they chatted, he suddenly noticed a group of ghosts behind her. He almost attacked, but the white-haired girl realized they wore her family's crest. It was her father's old subordinates, and they were the ones who'd sent the distress signal from headquarters. They warned that a new Void Lord had appeared in the 3rd Tactical City, and if it wasn't stopped, the 7th city would be doomed. They urged Lucas and the white-haired girl to hurry to the city center and the magic furnace to prevent the Void Lord's awakening. Then, they pulled up in a luxury car to take the white-haired girl home to rest. But Lucas wasn't happy with the speed, so he summoned 2 little pets to pull the car, making for a pretty hilarious scene. As soon as they got in, the white-haired girl wanted to recharge, and seeing no one around, she grabbed Lucas and hugged him tight. Meanwhile, the blonde girl's team was in some ruins when they met an elven girl with a sword, ready to fight. After seeing her archery skills, the blue-haired person decided to take her on in person. After a quick exchange, the blue-haired one pressed a blade to her throat, but admitted defeat because the girl was badly wounded. It turned out this girl, Alialil, was a hero from the Elf clan. Transmitted from 1,000 years ago, just like Lucas, she'd been hurt because someone had ambushed her 2.5 hours ago. Once they confirmed she wasn't an enemy, the purple-haired guy suggested Alialil join them to take down the Void Lord together. The maid, watching from afar, recognized Alialil as a sworn enemy who'd killed many demon generals 1,000 years ago, but couldn't figure out why she was here now. Elsewhere, monsters gathered around a man who turned out to be their leader. When she learned Lucas had slain an angel, the white-haired girl finally reached her ruined home. Seeing the devastation, she was overwhelmed with emotion. The ghosts, seeing her so heartbroken, decided to use their powers to let her see her late father one last time. With their help, the ruined house was restored and her father appeared before her. In this vision, he began telling her a story about a hero who destroyed the Demon King, but never finished it. While she was lost in a memory, a big fool showed up, and she mistook him for a survivor. But the blue-haired guy thought she was the monster slayer. Sometimes when you're happily killing monsters, you suddenly find out your enemy is actually your ex. What would you do? Any veteran traveler would keep fighting, but Lucas hesitated and got stabbed through the heart in the name of love. Sent straight to the underworld. 2.5 hours earlier, some idiot had found the white-haired girl, blaming her for killing his monster and throwing fire magic at her. But thanks to the bodyguards Lucas had assigned, all the damage was soaked up by 3 skeleton warriors. The white-haired girl was stunned. How could she control undead? She wasn't alone, though. Lucas was also baffled, not knowing where the skeletons came from. As she prepared to attack with 6 sword magic, Lucas showed up, instantly blasting the blue-haired guy away with a fire spell. Those skeletons were actually his subordinates. The blue-haired man shrugged off the flames, but Lucas was shocked to discover he'd once been a top general for another Demon King 1,000 years ago. Back then, there were 8 Demon Kings. Lucas was only one of them. The blue-haired guy thought Lucas was tough, but not unbeatable. But Lucas quickly froze his fire magic with ice, humiliating him. Though Lucas could have killed him, he was too curious about his true intentions. Just then, a violent earthquake struck. The blue-haired guy grinned, knowing his plan had worked. He'd used the Saint Tessa's body as a vessel to resurrect the fallen goddess from 1,000 years ago, who was actually Lucas's girlfriend. Before Lucas could question him, the blue-haired guy escaped into the void using his powers, leaving Lucas speechless. If everyone introduced themselves before fighting, there'd be so much less trouble. They were all demons, after all. If only they could unite instead of fighting each other. Just as Lucas was feeling defeated, a divine figure appeared in the sky. With the mark of the Holy Order shining, the Saint Tyrus suddenly transformed into the Void Lord, appearing right in the center of the city. Meanwhile, the purple-haired squad noticed the same phenomenon and quickly fired a signal flare from their airship into the sky, warning the 7th Tactical City to evacuate. As Tyrus appeared, swarms of smaller void beasts filled the sky, forcing the white-haired group and others to fight. But no matter how they slashed at the beasts, their wounds instantly healed. This was Tyrus's effect, as she was a saintess with healing magic, meaning the only way to kill these monsters was to hit them in the head. Under Lucas' direction, they managed to take down one after another. But they all knew the only way to end the disaster was to defeat Tyrus herself. Lucas tried to incinerate Tyrus with a powerful spell, but it was useless. She was a healer, hard to kill, even with little offensive power. Then suddenly, Tyrus unleashed a devastating 11th level spell, flinging magma everywhere. Only Lucas' quick barrier saved the team from total annihilation. Having taken such a heavy blow, Lucas grew angry and decided to use his ultimate move to finish Tyrus for good. Hearing this, the white-haired girl immediately activated her vampire mode. After slaying the lesser monsters, Lucas faced Tyrus and drew the ultimate magic sword, ready to end her. But just as he struck, the magic sword resonated with Tyrus. Turns out the fallen goddess's soul was inside her. Lucas nearly lost control. He realized Tyrus was not the true fallen goddess, but his resolve was shaken. His attack failed to harm her, and Tyrus seized the moment, unleashing a rain of arrows that pierced Lucas's heart with perfect accuracy. Seeing Lucas defeated, the vampire white cat grew furious, evolving into her perfect form and slashing Tyrus to the ground. She rushed to Lucas's side, and with her power began healing his wounds. This made Lucas remember what the fallen goddess told him 1,000 years ago. If she ever changed, she hoped he would use the magic sword to end her. Back then, he was confused, but now he finally understood, though he realized his epiphany might have come too late. He might not survive much longer. As the Demon King preparing to face his ex-girlfriend in a final showdown, his greatest fear was being interrupted in the middle of his ultimate move and getting smashed before finishing it. Recognizing his enemy as his ex, Lucas's mind became unstable and Tyrus's attack nearly killed him, if not for the White Cat's healing. After she saved him, Lucas pulled himself together and swore to personally finish Tyrus. But his magic sword's energy was nearly spent, only enough for one more strike. At that moment, nearby ghosts offered to sacrifice their souls to power up Lucas's weapon. Many of these spirits were once the White Cat's father's subordinates, now willing to give themselves for Lucas. Deeply moved, Lucas channeled all their spirits into an energy sphere to fuel his big move. The Night Squad wanted to join, but Lucas assigned them another mission. Then, right at their feet, a magic circle appeared, and he summoned a troop of skeleton soldiers, merging the spirits and the Night Squad so they could fight together with him and the White Cat. Now, as Lucas charged up for his final attack, he sent the White Cat and Skeleton Army to hold off Tyrus. Meanwhile, the purple-haired team and the elf hero hurried toward the battle. Just as Lucas's ultimate was nearly ready, Tyrus preemptively released a magical onslaught, hoping to drown Lucas in flames before he could finish, but the red-haired teammate rushed in and shielded him at the last second. Charging together with the White Cat, Lucas finally completed his big move. But right as he was about to strike, Tyrus activated Shield. Lucas realized in horror he was out of killing power, and his attack charge for over 2 hours crashed uselessly against a barrier. Just as Lucas was about to despair, the purple-haired squad and elf hero arrived with a blonde and blue-haired, unleashing their own ultimates to crack Tyrus' shield. The elf hero finished with a perfect sword strike that pierced the barrier. Overjoyed that someone broke the shield for him, Lucas followed up and unleashed his own ultimate on Tyrus, obliterating her completely. With his ex-girlfriend finally gone, the city ground to a halt and the hopeful sun rose again. Lucas regrouped with the purple-haired squad, surprised to find his old nemesis, the elf hero, was here as well. He decided to question the hero about how he ended up in the future after he woke up. Returning to the 7th city, Lucas gathered his closest followers for a meeting to investigate why so many people from 1,000 years ago were now crossing over. The maid didn't care about these mysteries, only that she had no new clothes to wear. After finishing up with his subordinates, the white-haired girl went to Lucas's room, obviously wanting to recharge with him. Truly outrageous. Meanwhile, the elf hero awoke from his coma, believing that since he hadn't disappeared, there must still be a Demon King left to defeat. Grabbing his sword, he blasted a giant hole in the hospital and swaggered out, never guessing the Demon King from 1,000 years ago was now just a little boy. And all Lucas wanted was to rebuild his demon kingdom.